What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Gotham Season 4, Episode 9, Let Them Eat Pie. So, this one is a continuation of the Professor Pig story, and ultimately the end of the Professor Pig story, at least for right now. So we see he's taunting Jim because Jim is now the captain, and so he's trying to, I guess, let Jim in on his plans without actually telling him about it, because if he just told him, then he knows Jim would probably step in and try to stop him. So he gives him some clues to see if Jim is smart enough to figure it out, while also taking one of the cops hostage, which I really do like her. Her name's Harper, and so far in this first episode, she seems like she's doing a pretty good job of being Jim's partner, because we see them go to this one place. Pig sneaks up behind her, stabs her, and then takes her hostage. And so he takes her to the orphanage, Sophia's orphanage, where he has his whole plan set up. And whenever Jim shows up to talk to one of the kitchen help, he realizes that the help is actually working with Pig. He fights him off, but then Pig walks up and knocks him out and then tosses him in the room with Harper. And Jim's just like, I gotta find a way out of here. And Harper's just like, these idiots didn't search me, and then pulls up her leg. And I'm just like, I like you. You're witty, you're smart, you think ahead. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they're going to do with Harper. I don't know if she's supposed to, replace Bullock. I know one of the other cops that they had that was kind of like Harper in the past was Alvarez. He was typically that one cop that they'd talk to for anything, and he's the only one that really had lines. But I think, I don't know where he is now. I think I said this before this season. I know he was infected with the Tetch virus near the end of last season. I don't know if he actually died or was hospitalized after all of that. But I do remember he was one of the ones that got infected and sort of started attacking at the GCPD. So I hope he's not dead, because I did like Alvarez. He was just, I don't know, he had that cop feel about him, and he was that one cop that Jim felt like he could trust. So, but yeah, so we see all of this going on with Pig. He's got this plan to cook the homeless and then feed them to the people, to the higher ups, so that they can actually feed on them physically instead of feeding on them in more of a literal sense or figurative sense. So yeah, it's a pretty creepy plan. It was definitely an interesting episode at times, but I guess I'll handle it piece by piece. So first we'll talk about Pig and Jim and their little tete-a-tete. We see Jim and Lucius sort of working together to solve these little puzzles that Pig is leaving. And so that's when Jim is able to figure out, okay, it's probably actually going to be orphans, because the poem that he leaves was some sort of, it wasn't really a poem, but it was pretty much talking about, or the guy that wrote it was talking about cannibalism and talking, making a case for it pretty much. But Jim says, well, no, it wasn't just cannibalism. He was talking about eating the orphans. So that's when he realizes it's going to be at this gala that's being held at the orphanage. So he goes there. Like I said, he gets captured by Pig, but then he manages to escape and show up just in the nick of time as Pig is trying to feed the homeless to all of the rich and wealthy. And so they have a little fight. He manages to stop him. And one of the nice things about it is he stops him, they capture him, and then the media sees this. And not only that, but a couple of them are like, thank you. It was a nice moment, because Jim's been through so much shit this season, and last season, to be honest. So to see him finally just have a moment where it's just like, people recognize the good job he's doing, just like, yeah, that was a good moment. But it's going to be interesting seeing where this is going forward, because we do see in this episode, near the beginning, Harvey comes in, and they have like a little talk as he's leaving with all of his stuff. Jim is saying, look, this could have been different. The people need somebody to look up to. They need somebody to stand up for them. And Harvey's like, no, they need somebody who can do who can do what needs to be done to make the city survive. And so it's just kind of going back and forth. And Jim says, you have a desk if you want it when you come back. He's like, just to sit and watch you all day? I don't think so. And this is where I do have a little bit of a problem, just because I still feel like this whole forced argument between the two, I don't get it. Because even after Jim found out Harvey had been taking payment from Penguin, it still kind of felt like, that doesn't mean they can't be friends. It just means Harvey made a bad decision. But ever since then, they've treated it like Harvey is actually this douchebag that hates Jim now. I don't understand why he suddenly hates him out of nowhere. I get that he wanted Penguin to sort of be in charge because it's easier that way, but that doesn't mean that he should hate Jim after all they've been through. They've been friends forever. They've had each other's backs forever. And so to just suddenly have him turn and start hating Jim just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it was warranted. So still kind of frustrated with that. But that's about it for Jim's story. So then we'll talk about Penguin and Sophia, because this was another story that got pretty interesting in this episode. So of course there's a little bit of back and forth. Penguin thinks he's got Sophia figured out as like a traitor. So then he confronts her about getting Jim into office as captain. And of course she does admit it, but she says it's for his benefit because the whole Pax Penguina thing, she thinks it was a terrible idea. So she thinks having Jim in will stop it and help Penguin because there's no other way to do it. So of course, it's kind of this little do you trust her, do you not? Do you trust him, do you not? Type of thing. And ultimately, there's a moment where Pig actually gets Martine, the little kid that Penguin was sort of training to be a little version of him last episode. He has him hostage. And Sophia steps up for him to stop Pig's little show, and then Pig stabs her hand into the table. And so then he's threatening to kill Martine if nobody eats the pies. And so that's when Penguin takes the knife out of her hand, stabs a guy sitting next to him in the head. I'm just like, oh, well, okay. I'm surprised anybody's going to let him get away with that, but okay. And then he's telling everybody to eat, and Penguin, of course, is like, eat or I'll cut you all down. So because he wants to save Martine's life. And then Pig sees that Sophia's not eating because she's got her hand wrapped up. And so he says, eat, eat it up. And of course she wants to, but her hand is stabbed, so she's like, Penguin, can you help me? And so not Penguin, Oswald, whatever. He's about to help her eat, but then Jim steps in just in the nick of time before she has to actually eat anything. But because of that sacrifice, Penguin's like, oh, well, I feel like I can trust you. That was real. Wanting to save Martine's life was real. And he's like, I feel like I can trust you now. But this is before, at the end of the episode, we see Sophia and Jim have a little moment. And then Martine sees it as well, and so he tells Penguin about this. And so, of course, now he's back to not trusting her. I'm just like, how much of this back and forth can we have? I feel like next episode he's going to confront her about this, and she's going to tell him, look, I had to get to Jim somehow. I had to get him in the palm of my hand as well, so I'm just pretending to feel this way about him. I'm just like, this could go back and forth forever. When are we going to stop? When is it finally going to be, okay, I definitely will never trust her again, or I definitely will trust her from now on? Because all this back and forth stuff, it just feels like at the beginning of this episode, Penguin doesn't trust her because of what he saw at the end of last episode. But then at the end of this episode, he did trust her just for it to turn back to not trusting her again. I'm just like, all this back and forth is just too much. But yeah, so interesting little episode there. And I will say, I forgot to mention this, Pig, in my opinion, perfect choice. His little performance that he puts on talking about eating the homeless, it was funny, it was creepy, it was disturbing, but he did such a good job of sort of capturing that sort of psychopath in Pig. It was really, really good performance from him. I don't know his name, the actor's name, but he did a really good job with it. And the final story to talk about, though, is Bruce and Alfred. We see, Bruce was partying up last episode. I was wondering if maybe he was just getting into his party boy Bruce Wayne role instead of being Batman type of thing. But in this episode, it seems like there really is, Bruce is just doing this to cover up the pain that he's feeling inside. He's just going out and partying because, what the heck? He killed a man, he can't get over it, so he's trying to drown the pain with booze and partying. So, yeah, we see more of that in this episode. Alfred is trying to talk to him, trying to get through to him, because he's just, every night he's coming home and he's drunk and he passes out and then he wakes up late, midday, and then it just tells Alfred to do whatever he says. And so he takes him on this little trip that apparently he goes on every year or something like that, where he and his dad went out and put some rocks on this mountain. So he takes him out to do that, and then Bruce says, after a little argument between the two, Bruce says, I left the rocks, they must have fallen out in the car. So he grabs the car keys, and of course, the rocks are still there because he's taking the car and leaving. Well, get back to the Wayne Manor, and he's throwing a party there with all of his friends. Alfred comes in and busts up the record player, and then they have a little bit of an argument. And this is where I'm not sure how I feel about it, because I feel like they could do something interesting with this, so maybe it's all leading to something. But I just feel like you're making him unlikable. You're making Bruce very, very unlikable. And so when you have this little argument between him and Alfred, he just left Alfred in the woods, all alone with no way to get back. How am I supposed to feel for you when you're talking about how much this hurts and how he doesn't understand how you feel? Who cares? You just left him in the woods alone. You know, animals could have gotten to him. Some random mugger on the way back could have gotten to him. I mean, obviously Alfred can take care of himself, but who knows what could have happened to him on the way back. And you're sitting there talking about, you don't understand me at all. You didn't. I'm like, you're just acting like a brat now. And that's not the Bruce Wayne I've come to know. You know, obviously he's different now. He's grown a lot since the beginning of the series. But it still feels like you're kind of making him this bratty character that doesn't even care about Alfred's life. And that's not Bruce Wayne at all. You know, yes, he can be annoying at times. Yes, he can be a brat. Yes, probably drowning his sorrows in booze and partying and girls. I mean, yeah, that's something that could happen. But then treating Alfred like shit and then not even caring if he makes it home safely, that doesn't feel right for Bruce Wayne. That doesn't feel like he's in character. So either they've changed his character a little bit to sort of fit the situation, and they're doing something with it and they're going to take this to a different place, or they've just decided for these few episodes where Bruce is dealing with all this, he's just going to be an asshole. And if that's the case, I don't like that. You know, I don't like whenever they turn kind of like Harvey as well. You know, Harvey did have that sort of asshole-ish side to him, but for the most part, he was a friend to Jim. You know, that was one thing that always stuck true. Even if he could be a total douchebag, even if he was being a horrible cop, helping out Fish Mooney, being on a payroll, through all of that, he was still Jim's friend. And that's the one thing that always got him through all of this. And so to have him all of a sudden turn and now just hate Jim because Jim stopped this whole Pax Penguin thing and now he took over as captain, to have him hate him for that just feels sort of out of character. Same thing here with Bruce. I understand if he's going through a rough time. I understand if he's going through all this, but Alfred is still the one thing that he's been close to this entire time. It's the one thing that's helped him get through all of the problems he's had. So for him to just be a total douchebag and kick him to the side of the road and say, all right, I don't care if you get home safe or not, it feels out of character. And that's a problem for me. To have characters do things that aren't within their character traits, it doesn't feel right. It feels like you've got to have a better reason for changing your character other than, oh, he's going through a tough time right now. You know, that the partying, that's your change of character. You know, the Bruce Wayne we know, he doesn't party, he doesn't go out and have, you know, fun and drink and stuff like that. But because he's going through a rough time, now he is doing that stuff. That makes sense. But to put somebody's life in danger, that's something Bruce Wayne never did. That's something he never even came close to. So I don't know. Like I said, if they do something interesting with it, I'll love to see it. I'll love to see what the plan is. But for right now, I'm not really enjoying either Harvey or Bruce's storylines because they're both just turning these two characters that I've enjoyed for so long into completely unlikable characters. And it just seems like they're not in character right now. So that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? Do you have the same feeling that I do about Bruce and Harvey? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for the Gotham reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.